Okay, so today we're going to cover the Battle of Agincourt, which takes place during the Hundred Years' War. By the way, the Hundred Years' War is a little bit of a misconception because the war itself lasts longer than 100 years. It's about 116 years by the time it starts to by the time it concludes, and it wasn't as if both armies are fighting for 100 straight years. Historians will have multiple phases of the war. The reason that the Hundred Years' War starts in the first place is because Edward III of England believed that he was the rightful heir to the French throne. Now, England and France have been historical rivals for centuries, so it's really not a shock that England wanted to become king of the French throne. Also, just a fun fact, a lot of kings of England actually speak French, so there's a lot of mixing of cultures in there. Nonetheless, Edward III of England can be attributed to starting the Hundred Years' War. In fact, the first phase of the war is known as the Edwardian phase. This is King Henry V. He is the King of England during the Battle of Agincourt. King Henry V isn't even supposed to be the King of England. His dad had usurped the throne of England. Henry of Monmouth, he was Prince Henry of Monmouth, wasn't even the next heir to the throne. Nonetheless, a bunch of stuff happens. He becomes the King of England and then will wage war on France to continue this 100 Years' War. He is going against Charles VI of France, who is the King of France at the time. Charles VI is also known as Charles the Mad. I've done a handful of videos on him, but he's the king that believes he is made out of glass. So Henry V wants to go in and establish that he should be the king of both England and France. Also, King Henry V is historically known as one of England's better kings. I'd highly recommend you watch the Netflix movie called The King. It's based off Shakespeare's play, King Henry V. It's really good nonetheless. I've done a video way back in the day on King Henry V, but look into him. Okay, so prior to Agincourt, the English will siege a place called Harfleur. This takes a lot longer than Henry V wants to, and from this, his soldiers are getting sick with dysentery, they're starving. Some debate actually just going back to England. Prior to them being able to do this, though, they will run into the French at Agincourt, so outnumbered and sick as they are, they're going to heroically win the Battle of Agincourt. How do they do this, you ask? Well, they're in kind of this open farm field that had just recently been plowed, and it rains real heavily the days before the battle, meaning it's just this muddy pit, basically. The French rely mostly on knights, so when these knights walk into this field, they are bogged down in the mud. English have a new invention called the longbow that they're going to unleash absolute devastation to these French knights in, so they're mowing down these French knights. The English, because of this, will win the Battle of Agincourt, outnumbered as they are. What spawns from that is Henry V will sign that he is the rightful heir to the French throne, though he will pass away before he can see that become a reality. The Hundred Years' War will rage on after that. Nonetheless, look into it. It's a really famous battle. I'm running out of time as usual. Hopefully you learned something. Love you all.